Hey, what's up? John Sonnemez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I get this question a lot of how is the best way to learn C#? How do I learn C#? How to learn C#? Variations of this question. And I've sort of held off answering this because I've done a lot of kind of how to learn programming language questions, but I figured that I'm going to start doing some of these because some of you are searching in YouTube for how to learn C#, and I should be giving you advice, even if I'm giving you somewhat of the same advice for different programming languages, because I do think there's a commonality there. I'll try to give you some specific advice, and I want to reach those of you that are looking for that, because you might not, you're going to search for a specific thing, right? So anyway, how to learn C#. How's the best way? The best way, and I've approached this from different angles, but the best way to learn C# is by doing it. Wow, that's so brilliant, John. How can you say by doing it? Well, let me explain a little bit more. So what I mean by this is it's not to read a book cover to cover. Obviously, I cover this. We can talk about my 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly course in a little bit here, but I cover it in there. But essentially, what you want to make sure that you're doing is you're doing, right? So regardless of the programming language, the groundwork is that you're going to need to actually code something up. And I think that the best way to learn any programming language is by picking some small projects, getting a little bit of reference material so that you can kind of navigate your way through, and just going through and doing it, and just making the project and figuring out what you don't know and figuring out how to do it, right? Maybe going through some tutorials where you actually build something. The more that you actually build a thing, right, the better it is. So I've done a lot of Pluralsight courses, and in my Pluralsight courses, you can check out my Pluralsight courses here. But in my courses, when I teach something, and I teach you how to programming language especially, I show you how to build up from the beginning. And I actually haven't done a course on C#. I've done one on Java, on beginning Java. And that's what I do is I show you, let's, instead of just trying to learn it in the abstract, let's try and build a thing. Let's talk about what we're going to build, and let's go ahead and introduce these concepts as we learn. So I think that's the best way to learn, and you can teach yourself that way. Again, now I'll actually talk about my course. I have a course called 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly. You can check that out, and it gives you kind of 10-step framework for doing this that I think is pretty valuable. You don't need the course, but the idea behind that is basically those steps in that course. So I'm going to get into some C# specific stuff here in a second here, but definitely I would recommend that you go through and you do it that way. Pick out a project, pick out something that you're going to learn about, right, and go through and learn about how to do it as you're building that project. As you get stuck, that's good. You figure out what you need to do, and you don't worry about the project being good or anything like that. You just pick some small application, and you don't have to have an idea for it either, right? I've done some videos on this. I can't think of what they are now, though, so I'd link to them. But essentially, if you can find a small application, something just to copy, just make your own version of that. Sometimes what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't get caught up in trying to come up with a good idea or come up with ideas. Just pick small apps and figure out, can you make your own calculator app, right? That's a good place to start. These are ways that you can learn the language by actually using it, and then it's going to stick with you and understand it. So let's talk about C# specifically. I do have a couple of resources here. The first one obviously is Pluralsight. You can go here and find, like I said, I'm not even plugging my own courses. I don't have a course on C# in there, but I do have some C# topics, but there's some very good intro to C#. I think probably Case Scott Allen has some good stuff there. There's a few others. He's really good teacher. He can help you, and he takes an approach of building things up, I believe. And there's some books that I'd recommend here. So there's a few of them here I'll pull up. So if you're just like an absolute beginner and you've never done any kind of C#, maybe if you're not too familiar with programming, there's Head First C#. Good book, and the Head First series is really good for explaining things and making it kind of simple for you to understand. So that's definitely a good place to start. I would also recommend C# 5.0 in a nutshell. That's also a good book. It's probably not as easy to start as Head First C#. And then there's a few other ones here. The big one I would say I'll link to this one. Programming C# 5.0, Building Windows 8 Web and Desktop Applications for the .NET 4.5 Framework by Ian Griffith. This is a good one as well. Really good, well-written book, and it's pretty exhaustive. Okay, so those are kind of beginner level books, but you're going to want to go beyond that. Like once you get the basics of it, what I really recommend, I think the best book on C# that I've ever read, is actually this book called C# In Depth. Right, and I think it's on the 3rd edition now. It's by John Ski. John Ski is kind of famous on Stack Overflow. I actually interviewed him. I did a course on how to market yourself as a software developer, and I interviewed him in this course, and he had some really valuable advice. I also talked to Bob Martin and a few other software greats there. But anyway, C# In Depth, really good book. It goes into the details of C#, how it works, how the compiler works, how the language works, changes in the language. Really, really good stuff. Not exactly for the beginner, right? But if you're going to really learn C# in depth, C# In Depth is what's going to do it for you. So again, just to summarize, learning any programming language, do not try to read books cover to cover. That's not the way to do it. You need to actively practice. And the best way to practice is to pick just a small app idea, and you just start developing that as you read and learn, and you figure out what needs to be done. It's a little bit scary to do it that way, but that's going to be the best way. If you feel like you just can't do that, you're not ready for those kind of steps, look for tutorials where you can actually type out some code and see it work and understand it. That's going to give you better understanding. Just reading a book to cover is not going to help you. So do that. Build like 4 or 5 projects, small projects that use different aspects of the language that are going to challenge you. They're going to be hard, but that's going to help you. And then, like I said, those books that I recommended are going to help you. Pluralsight Courses. Pluralsight is an excellent resource if you haven't signed up. I know that I have 55 Pluralsight courses on there, so I'm a little bit biased, but it is really, really a good resource. It's well worth the money. Like a developer that doesn't have Pluralsight, it doesn't make any sense to me because it's so cheap and you've got access to so much information. There's thousands of courses. It's not like I'm just plugging my courses there. There's a lot of courses. So anyway, I hope that helps you. If you have specific questions about programming languages, learning things, your career, life, whatever it is, you can email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com. And if you want to get more videos like this and videos helping you with your career, helping you as a software developer to live your life better, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I guess I shouldn't point because I don't know where it is. Somewhere. There's definitely one down below somewhere. But click that subscribe button and you'll get videos. I do about 2 to 3 videos a day, surprisingly, on all kinds of topics. And I mean all kinds of topics. So if you're coming here from a search and you've never seen my channel, be prepared to be surprised here. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and got some value out of it. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.